Dear students at Al-Azhar University, Faculty of Law, the second level, this is the second lecture in the course named International Organizations. Well, in the previous lecture, we started with the definition of the international society, and we have differentiated between two kinds of the definitions for the international society. We have mentioned that there is the international society in the meaning of the the international organizations course, which is the society which includes the political units or the political entities that are named states, and the comprehensive humanitarian society. After that, we have discussed whether the international society is an organized society, or even it is a society based on the chaos. We reviewed two kinds of point of views. The first one says that the international society is anarchist society, and there were many reasons to support this idea, and it was led by the jurist Hobbes. After that, the others claimed that the international society is an organized one, and the existence of the international societies is required in order to enhance the solidarity among the states of the international society more and more. That's why the international organizations are important. Then we reached to the definition of the international organization, and I have told you that there is no specific definition for the international organization, simply because the definition varies from a jurist of international law to another jurist according to the elements of the definition, according to the components of the definition. So some jurists give a definition for the international organization which is no more than one line or two lines, and it consists of only one to two elements maximum. However, other jurists may give a definition which is more than one page, simply because they think that the international organization definition must include more than six or seven elements. The definition that I adopted in this material is a definition, as I told you, of Dr. Sami Abdul Hamid, and he is one of the brilliant minds in the field of the international organizations law. He says that the international organization is a bulk of international actors' wills. This is the component number one. Also, these wells gather in the shape of a permanent committee, and the word permanent is important here simply because it differentiates the international organization. It make the international organization as them different from the term of the international conference. So the word permanent here is important. Then he said that it is founded through an international treaty or international agreement. I would like to use the pen to annotate important things. So again, spoke of international actors' wills. It is in a shape, this is number two, in a shape of a permanent committee. It is founded and based or established by an international treaty or agreement. Then also this committee or this wells gathering, it has an independent well. So the acts that are made, the resolutions that are issued by the international organization, they are not attributed to the states that they constitute the international organization. These resolutions are attributed to the international organization as an international organization, as a permanent committee, not to the states from which the international organization is established. Also, it's provided with a special legal system, I gave you many examples for this, and it consists of major organs, and we will find also minor organs. However, the major organs are the most important ones. So the major organs are found in order to help the organization as institute, as permanent institute, to fulfill the targets and the aims that are drawn within the statutes constituting the international organization. Okay, so this is regarding the definition of the international organization. Now, I have a question here, which is what are the characteristics of the international organization? So the lecture today is on the characteristics of the international organization. What are the most important characteristics and features of the international organizations? Well, the international organizations has two main characteristics. There are there is a huge number of the characteristics of the international organizations. However, these two, let me say, features or characteristics are considered as the main ones. So what are the characteristics? Number one, functionally, the international organization is a permanent one. Okay, so it's a permanent committee. And number two, that the international organization has its own independent will. And this will lead us to the claim that the international organization has a legal personality. It's one of the actors of the international law. It's one of the subjects or the persons of the international law. Okay, so let's start with the first one. The first characteristic of the international organizations, it says that the international organization is a permanent committee. The international organization here, the IO, has its main organs that work together as long as that international organization is existed and effective. So simply, when the organization is found, the main organs of the organization are found. When the international organization as institute or institution, when it collapses, then all of these organs shall vanish. So the organs of the international organization are linked with the existence of the international organization. Okay? Also, we call it as a permanent one. It is permanent. Why? Because there is difference between the international organization and the international conference. Simply because in the international conference, there is like gathering for the states' wills. However, this gathering is a temporary one. So when the conference is ended, then the conference is no longer existed. So when it is end, the wills ends. The wills end at the same time. However, in the international organizations, the wills of these states gathered in order to be united in the shape of the international organization and in a permanent way. Okay, so that's what we mean by the international organization as a permanent entity. Okay, this is regarding the first characteristic of international organization. The second character of the international organization is that the international organization has its own independent will. So it has its own independent will. What do we mean by this? I think that we have a small idea now about what do we mean by the independent will of the international organizations. Look, this will, this independent will means the following. Number one is that dates of the international organizations the resolutions. The resolutions means القرارات. Resolutions. I would write it here. Resolutions. So the dates, الأعمال, the resolutions that are made by the international organizations are attributed to the organization only. So they are in no way, they are not attributed to the member states and the organizations. So when there is a resolution issued by the UN Security Council, مجلس الأمن الدولي issued a resolution. We cannot say that this resolution is made by the US. We cannot say that. We cannot say that this international resolution is made by China. So it is attributed to China, and China has a liability and it takes responsibility for issuing this international resolution. This is wrong actually. Why? Because any deed, any resolution issued by the international organization will be attributed only to the international organization. Okay? So this is what we mean by the international organization has its independent will. It has independent will. This means that all of the deeds and resolutions are attributed to the international organization, not to the state members in the international organization. Number two, the international organization aims to fulfill the general interests of all member states. So the international organization, when it is working on the international level, it has aims, and one of these aims is to fulfill the interest of the international organization or the members states who gathered in a shape of the international organization. So the international organization, it has no intent to accomplish or to fulfill or to achieve the private interests of some states in the organizations. يعني الانترناشونال اورجانيزيشن مش جايه عشان تحقق اهداف دول معينه داخل تكوينها، هي بتسعى الى تحقيق شيء بصب في الصالح العام لكل الدول الداخلين ضمن عضويه الانترناشونال اورجانيزيشن. So this is what we mean by the international organization, that it fulfills the general interest of all the member states in the international organization. Among the things which reflects the idea of the independent will of the international organization is that the international organization has its own careers that are named international officers. يعني المنظمة الدولية عندها موظفين اسمهم موظفين دوليين تابعين إلها خاصين فيها. So when they work in the name and for the sake of the organization. So Ban Ki-moon, for example, he was the General Secretariat of the United Nations. He's a Korean person. So now he is a Korean, but when he works for the United Nations, he doesn't represent his state. Means that he's not working for the sake of his state, لمصلحة دولته, ولا باسم دولته. He is working under the name of the United Nations, and he is working only for the sake of the United Nations. So the Ban Ki-moon here, he doesn't represent his state. All of the officers, the other officers, rather than the Secretariat of the United Nations, they work in the name of the organization, and they represent only the international organization, and they work for the sake of it. Okay, so this reflects the idea that the international organization has its own will. So it has its own will. Also, among things or before moving to the other idea, here international officers never represent their countries, and the latter shall not intervene in their work. Look, not only the officer doesn't represent his state, but also the state to which he belongs must not intervene in his work. Like Korea, for example, cannot give orders or uh, to, to submit like secret letters to Ban Ki-moon in order to work or to do something or to commit something or to achieve things that are in favor of Korea. So state members are invited all to refrain from intervening in the work of their subjects when they are working in the international organizations. كل الدول الأعضاء ممنوع تتدخل بأي شخص بيحمل جنسيتها بيعمل عند المنظمات الدولية. يجب أن تتركه على حريته to work in the name of the international organization only for the sake of the international organization. Okay, so this reflects the idea that the international organization works only under the workers of the international that the international organization has its own legal character and its independent will. ارتباطا بالفكره اللي قبل انه الانترناشونال اوفيسرز ممنوع يمثلوا دولهم ودولهم ممنوع تتدخل فيهم. عندنا ارتكل 100 of the United Nations Charter, and let we annotate here with a pen. In the performance of their duties, the Secretary General and the staff shall not seek or receive instructions or orders يعني from any government or from any other authority external to the organization. So they always work through internal channels, and they always and only receive instructions from internal channels inside the international organization. So their performance of the duties that they have inside the international organizations, these members and the staff members shall not seek or receive instructions from their governments. I mean, from the state that they belong to. They shall also refrain from any action which might reflect on their position as international officials responsible only to the organization. حتى ممنوع يقوموا بأي أعمال من شأنها تأثر على المركز تبعهم كموظفين دوليين تابعين للأمم المتحدة. إذن هذا دليل على أنه الأمم المتحدة عندها إرادة مستقلة خاصة فيها عن الدول الأعضاء الداخلة فيها. Article 100 also paragraph 2, it says each member of the United Nations undertakes to respect the exclusively international character of the responsibilities of the Secretary General and the staff and not to seek to influence them in the discharge of their responsibilities. يعني هذا خطاب موجه للدولة إنه if you have subjects or citizens who are working for the sake of an international organization, please do not seek to influence your workers or your citizens when they are working for the sake of the international organizations and the discharge of their responsibilities or while they implementing their responsibilities. Among other things which reflects the independent will that the international organization has, here the international organization has its own financial budget. يعني حتى الموازنة اللي تتمتع فيه المنظمة الدولية مستقلة تماما عن مين؟ عن ميزانية الدول الأعضاء. That is put and decided without the member states' interference. So the member states, they must not intervene in the budget of the international organization. Okay. Also, among other things, the international organization officers and infrastructures enjoy the immunities mentioned within the articles of the Vienna Convention on the Diplomatic Relations 1961. دايما بحب انبه انه في فرق بين VCLT اللي هي Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties 1969. هذيك اتفاقية فيينا الخاصة بقانون المعاهدات. في اتفاقية اسمها Vienna Convention on the Diplomatic Relations. This is the conventions of 1961 regarding the diplomatic relations and the immunities that are enjoyed by the United Nations and the other organizations, and the offices of these organizations and the infrastructures of the international organizations and the embassies and whatsoever. So having the immunities, it means that also the international organization has the feature, which is the independent will, which is different from the wills of the states, which constitutes the international organization. فهذه تعتبر من ضمن المعالم يا اخوان اللي بتميز المنظمة الدولية بإرادة منفصلة تماما عن إرادة الدول الداخلين في تركيبها. إذن هذه كلها ملامح بتعبر لي عن انه الانترناشونال اورجانيزيشن عندها will that is independent from the wills of the states which constitute the international organization. So again, number one, dates of the international organizations are attributed to this organization only, not to the member states in that organization. Number two, the international organizations aim to fulfill the general interest of all member states. Number three, the international organization has its own officers who work on the sake and under the name of the United Nations and the other organizations. So states are invited not to intervene in their work and the discharge of their responsibilities, like what is mentioned in Article 100 in the United Nations Charter. The international organization has its own financial budget. Also, it is away from the interference of the state members. Also, the international organization, and finally, the officers and the infrastructures of the international organization, they enjoy the immunities and the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations 1961. Okay, so this is all about what we mean by the legal will, or the independent will that the international organization has. Well, I end my lecture now. In the coming lecture, inshallah, I will be talking about the legal personality of the international organization. I wish you read this topic and to use extra to review the internet to find extra information regarding the legal personality of the international organization. I will illustrate this inshallah in the coming lecture, but I need you to ask me questions through the Moodle. You can leave me any question that you have, whether regarding this second lecture or even the first lecture. It gives me really a pleasure to answer your questions. It makes me happy to find questions from you in the Moodle, simply because it makes me feel that there are people who are interested in the area where I teach. I mean, in the area of the international law, and also in the criminal law, that the course that I teach you also. I need you to give me questions. I need to feel that you are interested. I need to feel that my work, my hard work does not go in vain. Okay? Okay, to this limit, I end my lecture. Thank you very much. Thank you for being patient. I see you, inshallah, in the coming lecture. Thank you again and goodbye.